Hi, it's Jason Gorber for ThatShelf.com here on day 2 of the Toronto International Film Festival 2019 edition. And I finally saw the opening midnight film tonight called Blood Quantum. This is a film I've been following for many years actually, as Jennifer Barnaby's been working on it. If you've not seen Rhymes for Young Ghouls, I put it on my list of one of the top Canadian films of all time. I think it's one of my favorite films by far that's ever come out of this country. It's a remarkable story, a truly unique way of taking genre elements and applying them to really deep socio-political stories that just simply don't get told in this country very much, and certainly not from the perspective that Jeff brings to it. Blood Quantum does something slightly more broad, for lack of a better word. It takes the zombie element, which again, I'm not usually a big fan of. I think zombies are a little bit overplayed, but he certainly ups the ante in terms of the story that's getting told here, and balancing between who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, and using the notion of blood and transmission and who counts within the community and who doesn't count in the community in very interesting and fascinating ways. Essentially taking something in the notion of blood quantum, which was used to basically delineate whether you were appropriately, quote unquote, indigenous by the government or not, suitable for treaty consideration or not, and twist that into a story very much about infection, about deciding about who is actually the victim and who gets victimized. It's a pretty fascinating story. It's got enough gruesomeness to actually appease just general genre lovers, but there's this, it's not even undercurrent, there's an absolute current of very precise and interestingly non-didactic, not banging it over the head, but really interesting and intelligent political motivations of twisting what counts. Jeff himself actually articulated one of the more interesting elements, that there's all these notions, as there are in many of his films, about fatherhood and sacrifice, something very much part of his community that has struggled a lot of times with having father figure role models that stick around through lots of different reasons and iterations. What causes this, the social unrest and the incredible injustice brought about by culture, erasure, and all of these other elements. Look, this is very heady, very philosophically rich and deep stuff, but it's done within the context of a pretty common, in the sense that it's using genre and zombie elements, things that we're used to, common things that we're used to, a bunch of heads being chopped up, people getting shot, things taking place in this way. And by twisting that, by making these sort of more intelligent offerings on top of it, we get a film that's actually quite special and quite, as I said, unique. So I think Blood Quantum very much lives up to the promise that we got from Barnaby's other projects. He's been working on this, as I said, for a very long time, trying to hone it to make sure that it worked as a standalone film, as a film sort of for those not necessarily couched in all the elements that go into it, but for those that wish to dive deeper, like any great art, there's so much to explore here. We can look at the films of Elle-Máijá to see the documentaries that actually shape the storylines that's being told in this fictional universe. By being set in 1981, it's a very provocative moment within the indigenous communities that felt justifiably violated, as many of their communities were in some ways overrun by a populace that was simply not sensitive to many of their needs and many of the struggles that they go through hundreds of years of colonialism. Now this sounds like, as I said, it sounds like it should be like more of a lesson or something, like you need to like this because it's important. Look, it is important because it's an incredibly strong story, but the story never gets away of that importance. It never feels like it's some sort of thing that you're obligated to sort of follow along and feel guilty if you don't get all the references. No, it's a very much a film made by a filmmaker sensitive to an audience, of allowing them in, but recognizing that this current of anger is justified not simply on genre basis, but because of the true socio-political elements that are taking place in the film. And because of that, I think it's truly, it's indicative of the kind of films we're getting now. It's the stuff we saw at Cannes. We're starting to see films very much, this is the sort of primates that we're getting with films like Parasite and all kinds of other elements that take these elements, take these sort of straight ahead, popular, for lack of a better word, story elements, genre elements, and incorporate them in a story that's rich, that's profound. this goes back all the way to the George Romero films that did something very similar, but in many ways this is another leap forward in that type of film of taking the zombie sort of structure and making something truly, for lack of a better word, strongly condemning of the stories that we tell ourselves in this country, but also doing so in a way that makes us think, that makes us realize, and makes us in some fundamental ways come together. And because of that, it's a film that should absolutely be celebrated. So that's Blood Quantum, the opening film of Midnight Madness. I saw it in day 2, but definitely worth your time and worth seeking out, whatever country you're from, whatever your background is, because you're going to see a unique voice, a unique series of filmmakers, unique performances, and something that's truly, truly special out of this year's Midnight Madness slate. For thatshelf.com, I'm Jason Gorber. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so that you can see all the videos. We're doing tons of stuff from TIFF, and be sure to check us out at thatshelf.com. Thanks so much, and let us know in the comments what you think of these videos. Thanks so much.